Listen, I get it. I have a sister, and I know firsthand how annoying they could be. But this isn't complicated. Obviously, Bernice needs to wake up and let him sell that damn piano. But it is a part of family history. But we won't have no more family history if we don't get some land around here. But we wouldn't even be here right now, not able to afford that land if it wasn't for our ancestors. But if we don't sell that piano, did our dad die for nothing? I could see how it could be a little conflicting. All right, welcome to Taste Take. If you're new here, today we're doing a breakdown of the new Netflix movie, The Piano Lesson. If that's something you're into, hit that subscribe button for your boy. From our regular taste takers, let's get into this Washington family reunion. Okay, quick background here. Actually, not quick background here. Kind of a lot of background here. So if you're only interested in hearing about the movie, I guess you could fast forward, but I gotta get through this history. I don't know what to tell you. Kamala Harris and Mike Tyson lost in the same month. You're gonna get this black history. We start with August Wilson, and I'm secure enough to tell y'all that I didn't know nearly enough about this fellow until I started making this video. If any of y'all are in the same boat, this is a safe space. You're freaking welcome. August Wilson is one of the most prominent, popular, successful playwrights in American history, and he's black. Well, he's half black. His dad was a German immigrant, but he wasn't around when he was growing up. He was mainly raised by his mother, Daisy Wilson. Growing up, she sent August to a Catholic school, and surprise, surprise, he was the only black kid in the whole school. Did y'all know that I also went to Catholic school as a young lad? Nothing happened. But for sure, wasn't the only black kid though. We were super lit. So shout out to all the homies from Corpus Christi, which is now defunct. So perhaps we were a little too lit. But that's a story for another day. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, it's the early 1960s. August Wilson is growing up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania as the only black kid in the whole school. But these Catholic white kids were super nice and super welcoming. Just kidding. One day this kid called him the N-word with a hard R, and August beat his ass after the Pledge of Allegiance. Dropped out of school that same afternoon. But he couldn't go home and tell Daisy he just dropped out of school. What, are you crazy? So this dude, August Wilson, would get up every day for school and just go to the library and read all sorts of books. And he'd be in there reading books until 3 p.m. and go home like nothing happened. He went on to further develop his love for writing that started with writing poems for the girls that he liked in school, which I also did with less than stellar results, to then evolving that to writing full-on plays. Today, August Wilson is most known for writing 10 plays that depicted the African-American experience. These plays are known as the Pittsburgh Cycle or the Century Cycle because each of the 10 plays represents each of the decades in the 20th century. These plays were all written between 1982 and 2005, most of them being done in the 80s. Some of these plays include Fences, that's the 1950s, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, that covers the 1920s, and of course, The Piano Lesson, that takes place in the 1930s. August received Pulitzer prizes for both Fences and The Piano Lesson, one of the few people in history to get more than one Pulitzer Prize in drama, and one of the fewer people to do that while being black. A few years ago, the August Wilson estate made a deal with Denzel Washington where he signed on to make all 10 of these plays into movies. The deal was originally signed with HBO, then shifted over to Netflix, probably because Netflix has unlimited money and HBO is making shows like Humans versus Hamsters. I will not be watching that show. And that's why you didn't only see Denzel starring in Fences, he was also a producer. He was a producer on Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Chad Boswick's last film. And here in The Piano Lesson on Netflix, he is also a producer. That's the connection. So now you know. August originally wrote The Piano Lesson back in 1987. The play originally starred Samuel L. Jackson as the lead, Boy Willie, and that role was actually supposed to be Charles S. Dutton's, and it would go on to be his, but he couldn't join the play in the beginning because he was filming Crocodile Dundee 2. Now, not only did I not know that there was a sequel to that movie, but I for sure didn't know there was any black people in it. So we're learning a lot today. Anyway, Shortly after that, The Piano Lesson would move on to Broadway and earn August Wilson 5 Tony nominations. He would win 0 of them. But like I said, it did earn him his second Pulitzer Prize. Fast forward to 1995, and The Piano Lesson would be adopted into a made-for-TV movie. This showed on CBS. Most of the people that played the cast members on stage also played them in this made-for-TV movie. This version of the play was nominated for 9 Emmy Awards. And I'm gonna give you a second at home to guess how many they won. If you said 0, you would be correct. It's savage. Fast forward again to 2022, and The Piano Lesson would be revived and end up back on Broadway. This time directed by the one and only LaTanya Richardson Jackson, who just happens to have been married to Samuel L. Jackson for the last 53 years. She's also the first woman to ever direct an August Wilson play. This 2022 version brought her husband back to The Piano Lesson. But this time, of course, he's not playing Boy Willie, he's super old now. He's playing Doker Charles, who is the uncle of Boy Willie. John David Washington, Ray Fisher, and Michael Potts also have roles in the 2022 theater version, who also play in the Netflix movie adaptation. Are you guys paying attention? You guys catching all this? Okay, and one of the big differences here is in the Battle of the Danielles. Because in the play version from 2022-2023, they cast Danielle Brooks, who we all know from Orange is the New Black and The Color Purple, to play Bernice, the sister of Boy Willie. And in the Netflix movie, they cast Danielle Deadwyler. No controversy? Okay, now I think I can talk about the Netflix movie. Sheesh, take, golly, took you long enough. Well, I had to just explain a lot of this stuff because I feel like it's important. This is like a history class, so I can't be just skipping steps, you know? Okay, if you were paying attention, you will remember that I said Denzel will be making all 10 of these movies from August Wilson's Century Cycle. Here in The Piano Lesson, we get probably the closest thing we'll ever get to a Hollywood family reunion. Denzel Washington is a producer. His son, Malcolm Washington, is here making his feature directorial debut. His other son, John David Washington, is playing the lead role, Boy Willie, just like he did in the play. Their sister, Olivia Washington, plays a young Mama Ola. Their other sister, Katya Washington, is an executive producer. And most importantly, their mother, Pauletta Washington, is playing Mama Ola. And what's even cooler than that is that they say that this movie is dedicated to their mom, Pauletta Washington. And that is very nice. This movie was filmed in Atlanta, Georgia. And this section right here is probably the only tiny little bit of controversy you're gonna get with this whole project. Now you might be at home like, a lot of movies are filmed in Atlanta, Georgia. Tate, what's the big idea? Well, the big idea is that this makes it the first August Wilson production not to be filmed in Pittsburgh. And the people of Pittsburgh were sort of feeling a way about it. I mean, the plays are called the Pittsburgh Cycle for a reason. The people are gonna feel a way. But like one little theory is that, for example, the state of Pennsylvania has a film tax credit of $100 million, which is an increase. It should used to be like $70 million. The state of Georgia has no cap on the film tax credit. So you could just make it rain a little bit more. It's also Atlanta, which is a hub of black culture. It's not like they filmed this thing in Wyoming. Anyway, the movie debuted at this year's Telluride Film Festival and had its international premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival, which is where I got the chance to check it out, where I was also on the red carpet and got to interview some of the cast and the crew that was attached to the project. So I'll show some of those clips at the end of this video. All right, plot time. The Piano Lesson is a story that takes place in 1936 Pittsburgh, right in the middle of the Great Depression. Not the best time in American history. And on top of that, being black. The story revolves around the Charles family that has this piano that's sort of been passed down from their enslaved ancestors. The piano resides in the home of Bernice Charles. Her younger brother, Boy Willie, lives in the South and travels to Pittsburgh to try to convince his older sister to let him sell this piano. Bernice is like, hell no, I'm not selling this piano. Are you crazy? This piano is a family heirloom. It literally has the faces of our enslaved ancestors engraved in it. No, I'm not selling this damn piano. If you don't get out of my face, and her brother's like, look, lady, I know that piano is important to this family, but I got the opportunity to buy 100 acres of land with the money I'll make from selling it. Now, what would our ancestors rather us have? A piano just sitting in the house that low-key, maybe high-key, might be haunted, or 100 acres of our own land? So Bernice is like, hold on, let me think. No, you're not selling my damn piano if you don't figure that shit out. And that's a 2024 retelling of the plot of The Piano Lesson. So will Bernice give in to her brother's demands and let him sell that piano? Or will she stay strong and say, that piano is staying right here? And if she does indeed stand on business, what lengths will Boy Willie go to get that piano? And now we got a movie. So what's my take? Listen, I'm just ashamed that I never heard of this play. I wasn't forced to watch or read August Wilson's plays when I was growing up. And that's the downside of going to a Catholic school when it's all said and done. This is a very interesting story, and I really enjoyed watching this movie. I also went ahead and watched the 1995 movie before filming this, and there's a lot of similarities between the two productions, but this Netflix version feels much more cinematic. I really liked the direction that Malcolm took it in. And it makes sense that this movie looks a lot more cinematic than a lot of other projects that are adaptations of plays. The cinematographer of this movie is Mike Gloulakis. And if you don't know who Mike is, this dude has worked with M. Night on movies like Split and Glass and Jordan Peele on Us. So yeah, it makes sense. The dialogue and monologues obviously sound very play-like, but what you're seeing on screen is extremely cinematic, much more so than Fences or Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I think stories where you have conflict and you can see both sides of the conflict, like both arguments, are like the best kind of stories. The amount of land that he could, in theory, get from selling this piano could set his family up for a financial success and lifestyle that those same ancestors that Bernice is trying to protect could never or would never imagine. And if I'm Bernice, I'm telling Boy Willie, find the money some other way. How do you plan to replace this one-of-a-kind piano that has our literal ancestors carved into it? Then when you talk about how they even procured this piano, you understand why she wants to keep it even more. And I guess that's the brilliance of August Wilson, telling complicated African-American stories that are layered in these kind of ways. We're forced to address the history of slavery that this family is literally one generation removed from. We have to address this current state of living in a segregated America in the Great Depression of the 1930s. And we also have to address the idea of a future that could be. August Wilson's widow said that the piano itself represents what it means to be black in America. The terrible history of slavery that we carry with us, at the same time living for the hope of the American dream, is what makes us us. And you can't shake either part of that. Now let's talk acting. I already told you that The Piano Lesson got dissed by the Tony Awards. I've told you how The Piano Lesson got dissed by the Emmy Awards. What I need the Oscars to go ahead and not do is to diss Danielle Deadwyler for this performance.
Mama Ola polished this piano with her tears for 17 years. For 17 years, she rubbed on it till her hands bled. Then she rubbed the blood in, mixed it with the rest of the blood on it. Every day God breathed life into her body. She rubbed and cleaned and polished and prayed over. Play something for me, Bernice. Play something for me, Bernice. Play something for me, Bernice, every day. I cleaned it up for you. Play something for me, Bernice. You always talking about your daddy, but you don't never stop to look at what his foolishness cost your mama.
She's been overlooked for far too long, and I'm talking about you, Till. I think it's time that we course correct. The whole movie is well acted. You guys have seen enough of John David Washington to understand what to expect from John David Washington. Now, this role of Boy Willie, to me, is the perfect role for John David. That annoyingly persistent energy where his number one gift is his way with words. It is John David Washington.
Hey, Doka, Sutter's brother selling the land. Say he want to sell it to me. That's why I come up here. Now, I got one part. I sell them watermelons, I get me another part. Then I get Bernice to sell that piano, and I had a third part.
Bernice ain't gonna sell that piano.
I'm gonna talk to her. When she see I got a chance to get Sutter's land, she'll come around.
You can get that thought out your mind. Bernice ain't gonna sell that piano.
Sam Jack is, of course, a legend, and it's good to see legends doing legendary things. He's not taking the scenes over, but he fits right in. But you just feel like that OG energy. And it's also cool to just see someone who was with the piano lesson from its inception, just being on set. That had to be just like a cool feeling to just have like kind of like a godfather on set to kind of guide the new school of talent. Ray Fisher, Corey Hawkins, and Michael Potts also give excellent performances, which makes sense because all three of them have history in theater. Michael Potts plays Whiny Boy Charles here, and he leads probably my favorite scene in the whole movie. This is when him, Boy Willie, Lyman, and Doker sing that updated version of Bertha Bertha in the kitchen. You even get a cameo by Erykah Badu, who plays Lucille. Lucille's not even a real character in the original play, but when you get a chance to add Erykah Badu, you freaking add Erykah Badu. Adding Erykah Badu is like adding egg to a burger. Of course I want egg on that damn burger. Overall, I would say out of the three August Wilson movies, I got the piano lesson right in the middle. Personally, I enjoyed this movie better than Fences. Perhaps the whole complicated father and son relationship of Fences was hitting a little too close to home. But I got Ma Rainey's Black Bottom at the top of the list. And I know freaking Viola and Denzel were winning all sorts of awards and they're legends, but this is just my little list. Just relax. I think that the whole ghost slash haunting slash exorcism parts of this movie were not for me, but they don't carry the movie. The piano lesson is still largely centered around legacy. Before I close out, let me just read a quick excerpt from Malcolm Washington about the project. May this work be an offering to the ancestors, a humble act of gratitude and tribute to them, and in honoring them, I honor the spirit of August Wilson and the legacy he left behind for all of us. A legacy that thrives in the power of Danielle Deadwyler's Bernice, the dynamicism of John David Washington's Boy Willie, and the understated brilliance that is Samuel L. Jackson's Doker. Every family has a history, stories from the past that inform the present, an origin story. Ultimately, this story is much bigger than me and my family. It, like the Black American experience, is an interconnected web of stories that span space and time. I hope that when audiences experience our film, they see themselves on the screen and hear the voices of their ancestors calling to them, offering peace and protection. So go watch The Piano Lesson. August Wilson said back in 1995 he loved the idea of making his plays into movies because it brings that work to so many more people that don't have a direct connection to the theater. Now a whole nother edition of his legacies on Netflix, and even more people can take part of the discussion. Now I know everyone's gonna be talking about Denzel Washington and Gladiator 2 this weekend, and I'm gonna watch that too. But let's take a minute to celebrate the entire Washington family. The Piano Lesson is available right now, exclusively on Netflix. As always, thanks for checking out Tate's Take. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like and that subscribe button. In the comments, listen, am I the only one that doesn't know anything about August Wilson? Damn. Do I have to give my black card in immediately, or do I get a 30-day warning to course correct? Listen, in the comments, did you guys know about The Piano Lesson? Do you have a favorite of these 10 plays? Have you guys seen all 10 of these century cycle plays? What's the best one? Am I crazy for saying that this is better to me than Fences? Thanks for the time, y'all.
I want to talk to you about the importance of this powerful black story about a family being made in Hollywood by a powerful black family, just like what that means to be a part of that journey.
Well, isn't that amazing? Just the idea of what you just said, that this powerful black family made this film, and and it's Denzel. He's responsible for saying he's going to bring all of these stories to a larger audience, rightfully so, because August Wilson deserves that. And, and the Washingtons are an amazing family. And I'm glad they're behind this. But this particular story, I think, all of the entire American century cycle is so important for conveying some part of the African American experience during the 20th century.
This is history making. I don't think I'll ever get this experience again, not in this way. It's something that feels like an honor, it feels like a privilege, and I hope that this inspires people to continue to explore August Wilson's work and his legacy, and I hope they continue to make these films and continue to make this content so that way we can pass down these stories in the same way that this film represents passing down heritage and legacy.
Congratulations, you're a whole family.